Creators have a secret weapon when it comes to product development, specifically physical product development, and in today's video, I will tell you how you as a creator can leverage it when it comes to diversifying your monetization options and ensuring you create a sustainable creator brand. In many of my prior videos, I would be one of those guys who actually tells creators to reconsider or at least baby step your way into actual physical product development. There are many reasons for it, but primarily the complexity of operational execution, the ensuring the quality control, ensuring you have the support, whether you're providing it directly and you're storing the product, you're quality checking it, you're ensuring you handle the returns, or if you find a partner to execute it on your behalf, in ensuring that partner will actually do a great job. There's a lot of risk for you as a creator in releasing a product that is subpar because it will affect your personal brand, it will affect the impression and the value that the viewers have of your brand, which has a potential to affect your entire business long term. So I would usually be the one to caution against it, but if you thought through all of those details, if you have an idea of how you want to go about designing a product and you really ensure that that product is a great fit for the value that your viewer is pursuing when it comes to your content and your personal brand, well, there's one person I would like us all to meet to learn from. And this individual is Ronnie Fike. Ronnie Fike is essentially the founder of TohirT. You've probably seen this brand before. It's a clothing company / boutique that has its locations in multiple different major cities around the world. One of those things about TohirT is that it became kind of like one of those staple product lines and the brands in the streetwear. But many people ignore the fact that as you kind of like, I scrolled quickly through the website, as you start looking at diversity of products in clothing and shoe wear and streetwear and even like some of the sportswear, leisure wear brands that TohirT offers, both in the perspective of them producing it, but also ensuring that they partner with other brands like BMW and co-producing products with them, like a car. They always strike the right balance between the quality of the product, its price, and the most important ingredient, the storytelling. And that is the key when it comes to the effectiveness of the TohirT product campaigns. Let me illustrate. TohirT recently launched this partnership with Giorgio Armani. The entire partnership essentially involved multiple different products. And what I liked about it is that it created these storylines around the archetypes. And that's why the campaign itself is called TohirT Archetype. If you go through and you pick, say, someone like an artist, you will find that there is an entire background story with visual storytelling, with very specific popular individuals, like in this case, the director who needs no introduction. You will see them essentially introducing the archetype of an artist, right? And so as you kind of like scroll through, although it may seem like a regular photo shoot, it starts embedding that storytelling into the products and the archetype that they're building. And you can go back and essentially, let's pick someone like Entrepreneur, because it actually was represented by Ronnie himself. Again, you see very specific storytelling. We started with the video, very specific type of products and how they position them, and essentially give an opportunity for the folks who are buying from TohirT to decide, hey, are you closer to the archetype of being an artist? Are you closer to being an entrepreneur, a traveler? And that essentially embeds a lot of that initial thinking that the viewer usually, in the case of the creator, would already have some sort of an idea. They would already have gone and they are there for a very specific reason, because they're there, say, to learn, to be informed, to educated by you as a creator. But then when creators introduce products, that link started to break, because frequently what I see from the creators is that the products are essentially launched just in the way to kind of like introduce additional way to monetize, but there's not much storytelling imbued into that specific product. So quite frequently, some of these products just become kind of like an extension of the brand, but not really. It's more of a way to, as I said, monetize and allow your viewers to support you. But I think if you're really trying to think through the product that you want to launch and you want that product to be the foundation of the sustainable creator business, you want to ensure that that product can stand on its own, which means it should not be only about viewers buying that product to support you as a creator with $1. It should be about the fact that there's something about that product, there's a story around that product that drives your viewer to go and repeatedly consume it or continuously look forward to a very specific collection that's about to drop. And creators are good at it. You, as a creator, already telling the story, you have that skill. If you've been a creator for the past 5, 10 years, you've been honing that skill for so long that the stories that you can tell around the product are way more powerful than the stories any other brand can tell. I've used an example of Kith essentially when it comes to the archetype, but they even tried to do it, a couple of years back with other different actors trying to embed simpler stories. That was kind of like the origin, where they didn't necessarily create a dedicated campaign. They didn't have like 5 different actors portraying different archetypes. And this was the example where you can start, where there was a collection dropping specifically around, I think, the Brooklyn College and the Queens College. And the whole story and the connection was the fact that Jerry Seinfeld in the show Seinfeld was not the actor itself, but the character was from Queens College. And so that connection allowed them, when they were creating this essentially product line, to say, hey, Jerry has that connection. The viewer knows them. And there's certain kind of like, link that they can already infer from watching the show itself. So we don't even need to tell that complex of a story. We just need to ensure the actor who portrayed that particular character is in our campaign wearing the Queens College uniform, right? Or Queens College themed clothing. That was it. So as a creator, this is where you can start. You can find some links, right? They're always, whether it is anecdotes and things that the viewers know about you, whether it is some sort of things that are very specific to the niche that can be the link, a common knowledge for anyone who spent enough time within that space, within that niche. So it's kind of like almost like a wink at your viewer to say like, hey, we all know that this is a thing, so let me make a product around it. And start building essentially the storytelling from there. Embed it in a way that is natural to your brand, but also natural to the type of value the viewer is receiving. It's a very important skill. The storytelling is not that easy. And this is why you see so many other product companies out there really not grabbing the attention of the audience. They may have some interesting product here and there with some interesting features, but notice that the products that really stick around are the products that are able to tell a very interesting story around them. Like, I think the one that comes to mind to me immediately, someone like a Sasquatch soap, right? Like, they were able to create that storytelling around men in the woods, men in the nature, natural products, and the fact that anything else just damages and destroys your skin. And they keep hammering and retelling that story, adding new characters to that story, essentially continuing to evolve the narrative around that specific value proposition that the person was seeking, which was more natural, less damaging type of product for their skin. You can take your niche, you're very well familiar with a niche, think about some of those needs and some of the things that the viewer is after, and think about how can you embed them and create that narrative around it that is also connected to you as a person or you as a creator brand. Because we've spoken in a couple of videos before, there's this interesting phenomenon that I'm seeing is that Amazon is getting really embedded with the creators, right? They're now creating shows with the creators. They're essentially took a minority stake in Spotter. We spoke about that. And they're now getting more and more involved in even sponsoring some of the creators. The reason I think for that and why I think it's a very smart move, and I discussed it in that video about Spotter, is that look at the fact that they produce quite a few products today. Amazon has access to production and fulfillment. They know how to create inexpensive product of a decent quality in so many different categories. Like, as I'm scrolling through it, look, there's anything from toys and electronics to wipes, personal care products, cooking. I don't know. There's so much stuff going on here, right? Vitamins even. I didn't even know that they do that. And so you think about the fact that, or as you look at that page, did you notice anything that triggered your emotional being, triggered your reaction to say like, hey, I relate to this? It's just blank white page with a bunch of products. You can do a better job. And Amazon, as they're getting more and more interested in partnering with the creators, I'm very confident what one of the next steps will be. They'll start pitching some of these products to the creators. They'll be looking for the creators in a certain niche. Say it's a personal skincare product, so they're going to be looking at all different creators who are in the makeup, personal care space, and seeing if they can co-partner and create a better product and release it on the market. The change that will be the biggest, I think, improvement compared to just regular brand partnership, where brands like this just go and slap the name of the creator or celebrity on the product. The biggest game changer will be if they will allow creators to go and start actually building narratives around these brands and these products. Let Amazon and all the fulfillment power and production power step in the background, let the creators step in the foreground, and really drive the messaging around the values and things that their viewer seeks. The way that it will take any of these brands to the whole another level is amazing. And I think it's going to be the important factor in growing, whether you are building your own product brand on your own and you're trying to leverage, maybe third-party companies, maybe you go and source all the products yourself, or if you get a chance and opportunity to partner with brands like this, like Amazon, or maybe other brands like what Ryan Trahan did with Joyride and the fact that he's partnering with that brand, anytime you partner with one of them, ensure you leverage your storytelling skills. You have spent years honing that skill. You got really good at it, and you also really understand the audience. Combine those two together and ensure that when you release that product, there's a story and narrative that you can tell, and that story and narrative has enough of hooks for your audience to latch on automatically without you overselling it. Because it can go very wrong when you don't do this. And I've used that example multiple times before, but the least effective product launch that I've seen in the creator space, I guess in the past 5 years, 4 years, it's been a few years since this happened, was David Dobrik's perfume release. And if you don't recall, if you missed this entire part, if you missed the entire generation of David Dobrik being actually one of the golden boys of YouTube right before all the allegations happened, short story, David Dobrik was like the it creator on YouTube, right? Like he was the name, he was the face, he had the most views, he had the biggest channel in terms of like just like the engagement. He would gather like crowds of thousands of people anytime he would show up somewhere in any big major city like New York. And then he goes and launches perfume. If you don't know anything about Dobrik, know that all of his videos were, or majority of his videos were 4 minutes, 20 seconds, and primarily skits of him and his friends getting into all sorts of things. So it's very much a vlog with some entertainment aspects to it. There was nothing about perfumes in those. I've watched the majority, I think, of those vlogs. Allegations aside, I was a fan of his content. And seeing then that he releases perfume was a head-scratching moment because I did not see any connection. And it's interesting to see, like in this interview even, when he's asked about, okay, why are you releasing this product? I'm really big a fan of scents. This is all that this guy said. There's some other things that he's saying, that there's a person that he met that, reminded him of the smell, and he wanted to create these two smells. But that's it. That's all he said about this. There was no connection to, hey, here's how it connects to my story. Here's how it connects to my brand. This product, I think, barely sold, just based on the fact that I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, like within a month or so of the release, it was already on 50% off sale. And eventually, I think they were just like selling it for pretty much nothing. They were just trying to get rid of the stock just so that people take it off their hands and they don't spend any more money, storing it on the shelves in their warehouse. What I think David Dobrik could have done different is that he could have tell a better story around this product launch. Tell a story maybe about the fact that some of these scents, again, assuming you're not lying and you actually did that, maybe it is a scent that reminds you of your home country. Maybe it is a scent that if it reminds you of someone else, tell that story, embed it. Again, I'll show it for a second because these are the snapshots from the campaign. I mean, they found a pretty model. She's in the content, but it's about it. They're like the ad itself, if we go and if we find it, look like a very standard kind of like a campaign where just like a boy and a girl run around on the beach. There wasn't necessarily anything major in that campaign that would tell you that, hey, this was actually inspired by someone very close to David. Maybe, introduce her as a shadowy figure somewhere in the background. Tell the story. Maybe there is a separation, disconnect. Maybe she's no longer in his life. Introduce something, give us something as a viewer to latch on, to say, I remember that story. I remember David being sad about blah, 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 and this was it. This was that lady. And now he's like, creating a scent around it. All of a sudden, there's a narrative that slowly starts to form around this product. If it's not it, again, coming back to the story about it reminding you maybe of a scent of the homeland, maybe it reminding you of a certain specific thing, like give us something that narratively will allow me as a viewer who is a fan of your content to go from you as my favorite creator to the value that I was gathering. Maybe in this case, it was entertainment or some sort of like a personal connection. Maybe we had some parasocial connection. I felt a part of your friend group. Connect me from there to the product that you're launching. And do this in the campaign as you launch it, not after the fact in the interview that I doubt half of his fans read, right? Give it to me through the release of the content. Coming back to Kith, as they were launching those archetypes, the video was the first thing you saw, even before you saw all the products. You had to kind of like look in the video what kind of products they're wearing to understand, like, oh, there's going to be a coat, there's going to be a jacket, there's going to be these gloves. You would see it first in the video, and then you would start seeing actual product listings. And the same thing happened across all the archetypes. Video always came first with a narrative that set the foundation, and the products were kind of like placed on that foundation to allow them to rise and succeed. David Dobrik did not did that with his perfume. Majority of the brands that launched their products, and I'm talking Zara's of the world, I'm talking, again, even in some cases Armani's of the world. Kith did a better job, I think, promoting Armani product than Armani did ever. It's either very generic, beautiful people standing in some interesting situations, some classic music or some intense music is playing, and some weird visuals are in front of you. That's about the extent of 95% of the commercials when it comes to fashion. And that's why I brought up Kith and I brought up Ronnie Fike as a way to tell you that you can do it better. The reason why they cannot do it is because majority of the people who touch those campaigns are marketers. They're amazing marketers. They're very intelligent marketers, but they're not storytellers. You, a creator, you are a storyteller. You learn how to do it in a short form, in a long form, in a podcast format. Sometimes if you're a visual creator in a visual format, you're an animator in animation, you're a 3D artist in a 3D artist way, 3D modeling, I guess. You can do it. You can do it in those formats. And anytime you create some sort of partnership with the other brand to release a product, or you do it on your own, think about the ways that you can do it with that product in a way of leveraging the skills that you've been honing in that short form, in the 3D modeling, in whatever type of content you create. Leverage the skill that you've possessed and you've leveraged for your content, but now apply it to this product launch, apply it to the storytelling. Give us, as your viewers, a way to connect through that product with you. And when you create that connection, when you give us something that allows us to feel a very special way, very specific way about the product, whether it's a consumable or collectible, we will develop the kind of loyalty that potentially will supersede you being in front of the camera. And when you achieve that, when you give us that connection to the product that does not rely on you constantly being in front of the camera, you succeeded. Because at that point, you created a sustainable brand that hopefully will continue to gain revenue for you long term beyond your time in front of the camera. And if that's not the goal of you launching a product, then why do you even start? So consider those factors. Consider not only the quality and operational complexity of releasing the physical products, but consider the fact that you have a secret weapon, your storytelling skill that you can leverage in your native format of content that the viewers used to seeing you in when you release a physical product. I hope it was useful. It's in a little bit of a tangent. Again, as I said, I'm kind of like usually the person who says like, hey, have you really thought about it? Like, really, have you thought about it? And I figured that for those who actually thought through the idea and really are confident in releasing the physical product, I wanted to give you a couple of tips. And I wanted to give kudos to Ronnie Fike, who I respect a lot. I think Keith does an amazing job when it comes to product launches, but also just in general, the quality of the products and the storytelling that they tell around their brand is amazing. I love them. And they're like one of my top 2 favorite brands. I think Ronnie Fike is a very intelligent person. Check out kind of like his Twitter, read some of the things that he shares there. He recently did podcast, and I think Invest Like a Best. Great podcast. He tells about the story about Keith, so very, very worth listen. I'll link it down in the description below if I'll remember. So I hope, again, overall it was useful. You found someone to follow and learn from, not in my case, although follow me if you're for the first time here. Definitely follow Ronnie Fike. He's well worth it, and hopefully it also gives you a little bit of an extra information if you're familiar with Keith before you learn about who Ronnie Fike was. That's it. Otherwise, let me know in the comment section below if you would like me to talk about some of the other types of products and some of the other inspirations that you can gain from other professionals who are way better than you or I when it comes to launching those products, services, or consulting, whatever you would want to do or considering. Otherwise, I'll see you next Saturday. Peace.